while everybody's doing that, I wanted to introduce our National Field Director, Will Boothby, who many of us know as our New York hero. He organized our New York ballot access process so wonderfully. And it wasn't just the signature collections that was challenging in New York, it was putting all the petition sheets together and in packs of what was it, Will, 1 to 200, making sure that all of the counties and congressional districts were written correctly. We had a team of about 20 to 30 staff and volunteers that bunked in upstate New York for a couple weeks to finish this process, and we all turned in the petitions in Albany together. And it was all because of you, Will. So I just wanted you to join us and share a few words about what we're doing now that we're wrapping up the ballot access process and ways that people can get involved.
Yeah, well, New York, like everything this campaign's doing, is all coming down to teamwork. And it is amazing because I remember when this campaign was at, zero volunteer signups, zero signatures, zero states on the ballot, and look where we are now. And if you're like me, you're probably like, man, I miss petitioning. I miss getting out there, talking to people, connecting with other volunteers. And if you're like that, I have some really great news for you because the petitioning is not where this road ends. It's just the beginning. We have what we call, it's very similar to petitioning. We call it direct voter contacts. And just like the million signatures we got, we have to have millions of direct voter contacts over the next 2-3 months to get Bobby in the White House. Direct voter contacts can be doors knocked, you could canvass, you could call, you can make phone calls, you could send text messages, you can write letters, you can write letters to the editor, to your local newspaper. There's literally infinite ways to get involved and to reach people, and so many creative ways that we're seeing people engage with voters, which I'm seeing in many of the pictures on the slideshow right there, including myself and Renee, one of our absolute MVPs out in the field. If you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, so if you haven't already, volunteering is very simple. All you have to do is go to kennedy24.com/volunteer. You click on that, you fill out your information, and we have a robust field staff that is just ready to call you and text you, email you right away, and get you involved. I also want to bring to people's attention that this is probably the first campaign to ever have its own app. The RFK Activate app is phenomenal. It's a way to mobilize your community in a way that is unprecedented in grassroots organizing. You can share stickers and GIFs and recent video uploads. You can do a canvassing action. You can call fellow supporters. You can call voters. You can send out emails and text messages. And there's just so many ways to get involved with it. And it's pretty amazing that the campaign was able to, while we were, getting on 50 state ballots, we also developed our very own volunteer app. So it's completely free. All you have to do is go to the App Store, download it, takes 30 seconds, and you're instantly plugged in. Once you've downloaded the app and you've signed up to volunteer, there's a really simple next step. If you want to go to the next slide, join the weekly meeting. Every single state in this country has a weekly meeting right now. It's, you're not sure how you want to get involved or what volunteer opportunities make the most sense for you. We have a weekly meeting in every state in the country that's either run by a state director or a volunteer leader that's stepped up, and they're giving out updates. It's how you can really stay plugged into all the action, figure out what's going on with the campaign. You can come with your questions, you can come with your ideas, and it's where you're going to hear about your opportunities, and you're going to get your orientation and training for all different volunteer activities, which there's many of them. First of which, we have a twice weekly phone bank running on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Everyone hops on the same Zoom call and makes calls for Kennedy. Everyone's dialing away together. People will go off mute and say, hey, I just had an amazing call. I got 3 new volunteers to go out to our canvassing event this weekend. Someone just said at the beginning of the call they weren't going to vote for Mr. Kennedy. At the end, they said they were. Dialing away on the phones is a fantastic way to reach voters, and we have a huge army doing it right now. But we definitely need to keep building that team, and you can literally do it from the comfort of your couch. And so I don't know what's better than that. And we'd love to see you on our Tuesday and Thursday phone bank events, which can be found at kennedy24.com/phone banking events.
You can also find those on the RFK Activate app, and you'll get a notification before each one starts.
Great point, Bridget. That's right. All right, you can go to the next one. Really, the bread and butter, though, of our field operation is door-to-door canvassing. It's a lot like petitioning, but instead of getting people to sign that petition, you're talking to them about Mr. Kennedy's policies, his message, and as Nicole said earlier, you're listening. That's the first thing we do when we talk to someone at the door is we ask them, what issue impacts you and your community, your family, and people just are very. It's not like the internet where sometimes people don't communicate in the friendliest terms. I've been just so pleasantly surprised by how open people are at the door and how willing they are to engage and to discuss policies and Mr. Kennedy and all the, and their worldview. And we're making connections with voters by doing that every day. We're handing them that palm card. We're telling them about the upcoming event they can attend. And it's been extremely, extremely successful so far. We've had a couple Super Saturdays where we're reaching upwards of 50,000 people, 60,000 people in just one day. Which is just incredible. I'm getting pictures sent to me from people canvassing in Alaska. I'm getting pictures sent to me of people down in the heat in Florida canvassing. And it's a team effort, and it's just like petitioning, but you get that personal touch at the door. So please go to kennedy24.com and sign up for a canvassing event near you. I really wanted to share this graph. It's a snapshot of our interactions with voters on one of our canvassing days of action. We talked to a couple thousand people, and every time we talk to someone, we have a little survey. And after we leave the door, we kind of mark some information down so we can follow up with the person and be responsive. So when we went out and talked to thousands of people last Saturday or Sunday, we had people record after the conversation what their level of support was. We said, hey, if the election was tomorrow, who would you vote for, or who do you see yourself supporting? Would you vote for Mr. Kennedy? And the vast majority of the people, after hearing our policies, our message, what Mr. Kennedy's bringing to the table, are strong supporters. And that just highlights how vastly important it is to just talk to people, to listen to people, and to get out and go door to door and spread the word of our candidate. And so if this graph doesn't demonstrate that, I don't know what else would, and we want you to be a part of these numbers and these conversations. Some other great things we do is tabling. Tabling is really visible. If you're in a high foot traffic area, there's no better thing to do than set up your own Kennedy table. You can pass out flyers. You can engage with voters. That picture on the left there, volunteer in New York City, he emailed me after that tabling event and said, Will, I recruited 16 new volunteers just from that tabling. And I was like, whoa, Cooper, that is absolutely incredible. And so really it's just such a great way to engage with people, and anyone can do it. Anyone can get their own Kennedy tabling kit and get out there and attend the weekly meeting if you want to learn more about that. Last but not least, we're getting so many supporters that are writing LTEs and op-eds in their local newspapers. They're just writing 2 to 3 paragraphs about why they think Mr. Kennedy is the best candidate for their town, their state, their city. And every day I wake up, and I'll admit I kind of check the news feed, and all the positive stories that are coming out are op-eds and LTEs from just everyday Americans that are writing in about why Mr. Kennedy is the candidate to unite America. And so if you kind of want to get involved in that process, you haven't written an op-ed or an LTE before, we do have a Letters to the Editor workshop where we can connect you with tools and messaging and strategy and give you the tools you need to be a successful author of a paper, which will have far reach across the country and especially in that local community. So those are some of the best ways to get involved. But there is, one thing that is really important too, and that is out in the field. You've seen it. We have buttons, we have palm cards, we have clipboards, we have pens, we have tablecloths, and all of that is being funded by small dollar donors that are fueling this campaign. And so, if you aren't able to maybe get out there and knock some doors, just a small donation, $5, $10, $15, $25 is fueling and funding someone else's canvassing activity to get those palm cards, to get that T-shirt, to get those buttons in the hands of voters. So there's really, as I said, unlimited ways to get involved, and we definitely appreciate your donation and your attendance on an upcoming volunteer call.
Thanks so much, Will. And just again, to reiterate, this app is a really unique way for everybody to get involved, whether it's in door knocking or tabling events, or if it's just sharing videos from the comfort of your own home, signing up to phone bank or send text blasts. There's something for everyone here. And even if you can't spend time doing this, donating is a really great way to ensure that we have field literature to hand out when we're door knocking, banners for tabling. I'm sure many of you have seen banners being held over the freeway. Many of those things are possible through $5 donations. So we really appreciate every bit of contribution we receive. Sorry, Will, go ahead.
I was just going to say, absolutely. And the same goes for people's time. It could be, you got 30 minutes of your week that you have free to support Mr. Kennedy, and some people have more. But even if you can go out and knock 5 doors, 25 doors, 50 doors, or we have people knocking hundreds of doors, that matters. You're making a difference. You're making an impact, and every little bit counts.
I'd now like to introduce Tremel Thompson, our Director of Voter Outreach and Engagement, who leads our different cohort managers and has done a tremendous job planning some DNC counter-programming this month, some of which he'll share now. And yeah, Tremel, if you're on, please take it away.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Will did a great, amazing job just now explaining the importance of going out there and getting involved. But guess what we're going to be doing from August 19th to August 22nd? While the DNC is going to be partying and having fun, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, and that's doing the work. Mr. Kennedy, one of the reasons why I supported Mr. Kennedy is because he's not a grifter to any of our communities, any of our issues. If you check the record, Mr. Kennedy has been involved with a lot of our issues prior to even wanting to run for a political office. So it just makes it that much better for me to want to support him. And that's why we're here. I'm quite sure you guys are here because Mr. Kennedy was talking about things before he decided to run for president, which shows that he really cares about our issues and not doing things to get our vote. So back to August 19th to August 22nd, once again, while the DNC is going to be partying, we're going to be in the inner city Chicago doing the work with Violence Interrupters, with stakeholders of the community regarding education, regarding banking, regarding crime prevention. We're going to actually be there doing the work, not partying, not having fun, but doing what we got to do to make our communities better. So, and we're going to be doing this from state to state to state. So I need you guys to pay attention to Kennedy24.com, sign up to be a volunteer, pay attention to see when and where we're going to be having events, and come look for me personally. My name is Tremel Thompson, and you can find me on Twitter via Progressive ACT. I wish y'all the best, and I'll see y'all in Chicago if y'all out there.
Thank you so much, Tremel. You are an absolute blessing and gift to this campaign, and I'm so excited to have you in this role, leading our cohort managers, ensuring that every voter everywhere gets to hear Bobby's message in his own words.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Best team in the world.
I'd also like to remind everybody that if you'd like to submit a question, please do so at kennedy24.com/questions rather than putting your questions in the chat. We're compiling them on our website. And speaking of voter engagement and outreach, I would love to introduce Cameron Schultz, our co-Students for Kennedy Chief of Staff. Cameron has organized our student movement with state leads in almost every state, campus rallies this fall, voter registration efforts, tabling efforts, ways for students to get involved digitally, even if they have just a few minutes in between classes. I think something that I love so much about Bobby is the way that he speaks to young people and hears young people and asks them what they think and what they believe in and what they think needs improvement in our country. And as I'm sure many of you have heard and seen, some of the other candidates in this race don't share the same sentiment. So, Cameron, I'd love for you to talk about some of our Students for Kennedy priorities and ways people can get involved or encourage their student friends or kids or grandkids to get involved this election.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction, Bridget. I'm so grateful to be here today and so excited to be talking to you guys about Students for Kennedy. With that said, I come to you guys today with a message of hope and a call to action. So, as young Americans, we're at a pivotal moment in our history, right? I mean, the challenges we face, like from social and economic injustices to a rapidly changing climate, I mean, they're immense, but so is our potential to create change. We've dealt with and seen so much struggle and conflict in our lives, from 9/11 to the housing crisis to COVID. I mean, sometimes it feels like we've hit our breaking point. And we've become somewhat disillusioned by the two-party system who fill us with false promises of prosperity while most of America's youth struggle to even get by. And no person should have to make a choice between, food or housing and education. And this is why we need to support this campaign now more than ever. We can no longer sit back and watch from the sidelines. I mean, think of this as like a sports game, like a giant sports game. If we want our team to win, we need to become players. Cheering from the stands, no matter how hard you cheer, is not going to change the outcome. But playing and participating in this campaign gives us a real shot at winning. But to make this vision a reality, we need your help. We need the passion, the energy, and the voices of young people across the nation to join us in this mission. And at this point, Students for Kennedy has become more than just a political campaign. It's a movement to utilize the power of youth and reclaim our future and shape it into one of justice and equity. By joining Students for Kennedy, you become part of this amazing movement and network of young leaders committed to making a difference. You'll have the opportunity to engage with peers who share your passion for change, learn valuable skills, and contribute to a cause that truly matters. And one of the things I often say to people is, like, the youth are so undervalued and often overlooked by political campaigns in the past. But history has shown we're the only demographic powerful and passionate enough to ignite real change, from the civil rights movement to, anti-war protests during Vietnam. Young people have always been at the forefront of progress. Which is why we're going to be the reason Kennedy wins this election in November. We will become the turning point, like a wave that just becomes a tsunami, rallying America to unite in support for this campaign. And in doing so, we're proving that real change comes from the ground up, from people like you and like me who refuse to be silenced and demand a better future. I mean, we're proving that we're not just the leaders of tomorrow, but the leaders of today. And, together we can make a difference and build the future that we all deserve. So, I ask you guys today very humbly to join me in this mission, to join our organization in this mission. If you know of any students, anyone in your network that supports Bobby, encourage them to sign up at kennedy24.com/students. Going off of that, please download the RFK Activate app. It's a really great tool for organization, for keeping track of events, for getting in touch with people in the campaign. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I hope to see some of you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Cameron. To go off of that, I feel like so many young people have felt a bit disgusted by political leaders because politicians tend to overlook those that they feel like they can control. And absolutely. Cameron and our Students for Kennedy team have proven that this generation is a positive force to be reckoned with, and they won't be silenced and they won't back down. So grateful for your leadership, Cameron. And just to reiterate, if everybody could go on to kennedy24.com/donate and just give $5 toward a campus event or a tabling event. Our student volunteers are in every state, working around the clock to plan these amazing voter registration efforts when they return to campus this fall. So let's support our students, and go to kennedy24.com/donate. I'd now like to introduce Yasmin Denari, who is our Deputy Digital Director and oversees our social media and content teams. Yasmin and I met last fall after she had planned a day of service on 9/11, where she went to the Tenderloin and educated people about fentanyl overdose and how they could get help. And that is an issue that resonates deeply with me, both as someone from San Francisco and with a social work background. So we instantly clicked, and Yasmin has brought just such a diverse set of knowledge about marketing and creative execution. And so she's here today to give us a little bit of an overview of our social media growth and progress over these last several months.
Thank you so much, Bridget, for those kind words. And thank you for everything that you do. And I like to say that Amaryllis sets the tracks and you keep the train on the rails. So thank you for that. As Bridget mentioned, I work on the campaign at the intersection of content creation, comms, social media, digital advertising, and virtual events. We've taken a very digital first approach on this campaign, and I wanted to start by pointing out just this graph and these numbers and draw attention to the nearly 1 billion views on our video content over the last 10 months across X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And this is not even all of our platforms, as we also regularly post video content to Rumble, Twitch, on our website, and on the RFK Activate app that Will and Bridget just mentioned. So I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watching right now, because it was largely your sharing of our video content that resulted in these numbers. On some of the platforms, around 90% of our reach is organic. Sorry, my light fell. So please do continue to share. And I just, I'm so grateful to get to work with such an incredible group of people, a lean and mean video team, which is guided by Jonathan Hiller, our Director of Content, and Del Bigtree, our Director of Communications, on the strategy and comms front. So one thing I wanted to point out here is you'll see a spike that starts in late June. So that was as a result of the Real Debate. If you could please go to the next slide, Bridget. So hopefully many of you guys saw this, and if you haven't, you can still go back and look. But when it became clear that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was not going to be allowed on the CNN debate stage, we took matters into our own hands and live streamed our own version of the Real Debate, of the debate with all three candidates, and we called it the Real Debate. We were really pleased with how it went, and the next day we woke up and around 11 million people had watched it in that initial day. So that was a great success. And if you could please go to the next slide, Rich. As we all know, there's going to be another presidential debate this September. And we'd love your help in showing that many, many, many Americans would like to hear from RFK Jr. They want to see him debate. And so in order to help create this social pressure, we've created this petition, which you can take a photo of the QR code right here. You can go to the web link right there, and I believe Olivia will also drop it into the chat. And we're right now at 227,300 signatures on that petition. Our goal is 300,000. So hopefully by the end of this call, we can up that number quite a bit. And again, appreciate your help so much with getting the word out that we want to hear from him on the debate stage. And then if you could please go to the last slide. Yeah, so if you were able to donate, now would be a good time. And on the digital front, $15 can basically get our message in front of 1,000 new voters. So there's a QR code again right here. There's the link to donate, and we are just so appreciative of your support, your attention, your sharing of our content, your donations, and everything. So thank you very much. Thanks, Bridge.
Yeah, going off of that, our digital team does an incredible job ensuring that so many people get to see videos of Bobby talking and Nicole talking about what they believe in and why they're a part of this movement, and why they've pledged to unite America. So I again, if any donation amount helps to spread that word and put these words in front of voters that might not get to hear from them otherwise. Our polls show that when people hear from Bobby versus look at headlines talking about him, they're more likely to say that they'll vote for him in November. So it's really important that we get the message out in front of each and every voter. And, we're doing that on the ground, as you heard from Will and Tramel and Cameron, but we can also really leverage our digital tools. Thank you so much, Yasmin.
Thank you.
Our merchandise team, I'm not sure if they're on the call, but they've offered a special sort of incentive for you guys. Another great way to get the word out is by wearing merch at the grocery store. I know every time I carry my tote bag or water bottle or wear my hat, somebody asks me about Kennedy, and some people don't know that he's running. And then, that opens that conversation. And dialogue is very important in a unity government, which Bobby pledges as president. And I think even if people don't know about Bobby yet, this, wearing merchandise opens that conversation, and it's free. Wearing a shirt to the grocery store is free. And so I invite you guys all to go to merch.kennedy24.com and use Unite30 for 30% off your order. Our merchandise team does an incredible job getting new stuff up there every week. It expires in 24 hours. So Olivia will also drop the link in the chat. So I invite you guys all to go shopping. As many of you heard at the top of the call, Bobby announced his America Strong platform during his speech in Las Vegas just a couple of weeks ago. And as part of that, we're introducing a really exciting Kennedy Match program that Jonathan Hiller, our incredible director of content, who many of you have probably seen in his explainer videos, as I call them, is going to say a few words about. Jonathan, if you want to take it away.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Bridget. How's everybody feeling? We started with over 3,000 people. We still have 3,000 people. That is awesome. That is staying power. Everybody hit that heart if you're feeling good. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Look at that. That's awesome. Okay, so, oh my gosh, look at that. That's so fun. So for 16 months, Mr. Kennedy he started his campaign with the slogan, Heal the Divide. So he has been the unity candidate for 16 months. His message has been resonating. However, one of the biggest criticisms we hear is, I don't want to waste my vote, or a third party vote is a vote for fill in the blank. So one of our incredible volunteers floated this idea to us. So here's my pitch. Here's my question. What if there was a way that you could vote for Bobby and know for certain that you're not wasting your vote? So essentially, we're building a digital platform called Match. And I'm just going to give you an example because I think that's probably the easiest way to get through this. So say this man named Trevor really wants to vote for Kennedy, but he's too afraid of a Trump presidency. So he feels like he has to choose Harris because he's voting out of fear. And then let's say there's Brittany. Brittany also wants to vote for Kennedy, but she's too afraid that Harris will win. So she eventually votes for Trump to prevent Harris. So we've created a system where they can both vote their conscience. What you'll do is you go to this website. It's going to be kennedy24.com/match when we're done building it. Our incredible engineers are very hard at work building it. And there you'll fill out your name, the state you live in, and your email, and you tell us which candidate that you ultimately do not want to win the election. And then what we do is we match you with someone who's on the other side. So instead of instead of canceling out your vote in the two-party system, in the system of fear, you match with someone who you would have canceled out with, and you both agree to vote for Kennedy. It's an entirely anonymous messaging system built on our website, so you don't have to worry about anybody sharing information or anybody knowing, what zip code you're in. And yeah, it's essentially the way to promise that you're going to vote your conscience, and you hold each other accountable. And one of the biggest things I think is so beautiful about this, as Mr. Kennedy has been about unity this whole election, this is really a way that we created a digital tool for you two to be able to heal the divide together. So you might go for coffee, you might just exchange information, you might, just chat on the platform, whatever you want. But what we want to do is incentivize conversation, incentivize healthy conflict even. That is a part of the spirit of unity, the spirit of independence, and the spirit of Bobby Kennedy. So we're really excited to launch that probably Tuesday, Wednesday, but we'll keep you updated. We're sort of building it as we're going. So yeah, we want to incentivize all of you to make friends across the political divide. And it's a small step for us to really heal the division that is so present in our political culture. And then, yeah, I just want to say also that, when we talk about unity, this is something that it's not just, we hold hands and and sing Kumbaya. It's not, we all come together and everything's great. To us, to what Mr. Kennedy and to what me, to everybody on this team, what unity means is freeing ourselves from a two-party system that has created gridlock in Congress, that allows billionaires to speculate on the market more accurately. When nothing happens in Congress, it's good for billionaires because it creates certainty in the market, but it's bad for us. And so for us, this campaign is about unity to, yes, heal the divide in the country, the emotional political divide, but it's also about freeing us from a two-party system that is shackling us. So in that spirit, if you can donate, I believe you're donating to your personal freedom from that system when you donate to this campaign. So please, if you can, dig deep, give as much as you can today. So appreciate you all. I see those hearts still coming in. It's so fun. Sorry, I've been distracted. It's really fun. Thank you all so much. Thank you again to this incredible team, everybody's leadership, incredibly intelligent, super fun to be around. It's been a joy to work here. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And as Jonathan mentioned, be on the lookout for our Kennedy Match program, which, I think is just such a great example of what this campaign is all about. We sort of sat in a circle one day and just thought, how can we cancel this fear narrative of voting Kennedy? It was actually a volunteer that brought this sort of idea to us, and we've just ran with it. And I'm so excited to see it play out and see so many relationships build between people who otherwise might not have had the chance to get to know each other. So I'd now like to present Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the next president of the United States, who has joined us to say a few words to you all. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bridget, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm great. I'm in Charlotte. We're making a connection here. I just got off the plane from Los Angeles, and we're going up to Albany tonight to. We have a 5-day trial where one of the DNC cutouts is suing the campaign in New York because they say I'm not really a New Yorker, as I claimed on the ballot petitions. Just so that people understand, I've been a New Yorker for 50 years. Since I was 10 years old, I moved to the state. My dad ran for Senate after my uncle was killed in 1964. I voted in New York for 50 years. I have been at all of my law licenses in New York, my law offices in New York. I pay income taxes in New York. My driver's license is from New York. My car is registered in New York. My hunting license, my fishing license, my falconry license are in New York. And I was told by lawyers, and that's, I've always claimed New York residence. And Cheryl and I, I moved out to California in 2014 to support Cheryl, who could not move at that time. One of us had to. But we both agreed at that point that when she was done acting there, that she'd come back to New York, and we'd move back to New York. And maybe she would do Broadway or whatever. But I always kept New York residence because I love New York. It's part of who I am. It's part of my identity, and it was important to me to keep it. And when we checked with the attorneys at the beginning of when we started the ballot registration drive and ran this problem by them, the attorneys said that if I claimed a California residence when I've never voted in California, I also have a house in Massachusetts, but I don't vote there, and New York's my residence. But if I claim California, I never voted there. My car's registered my driver's license from out of state. My law license, everything is out of state. That the DNC was going to sue us for fraud. So I claim New York, which is my residence, and now we're getting sued, and it's going to be an interesting case over the next 5 days. The plaintiffs in the case have called certain members of my family, and that's going to be and old friends of mine. So that's going to be interesting. I'm not here, so I'm just explaining why I'm in Charlotte. My plane was late, and I apologize to you for being late for this meeting. I want to tell all of you how touched I am by the work that you put into making this happen. I declared independence in October, and it's been 10 months then, and I don't think there was a single day during that 10 months that the mainstream news organizations were not reporting that I could never get on the ballot in every state, that it would never happen, that it was insurmountable, that we could never achieve it, day after day after day, telling the public it was out of reach and we would never get there. And the fact that we now have all the signatures we need to get on every state is an achievement that virtually all of the experts, don't trust the experts, by the way, and all of the experts said could never happen. And it was achieved because we had these extraordinary commitment from volunteers on the ground. We have over 100,000 volunteers, and I follow you every day with just incredible gratitude to all of you. I know, I talked to volunteers in New Hampshire who had gotten all the signatures that we need in a 5-day period, 5,000 signatures in the middle of a snowstorm, getting people to take their gloves off, walking the streets of Keene, of Manchester, of Concord, and to sign, and making sure that they signed carefully so that there were no squiggles in the signatures, which of course the DNC was going to go and look at every signature and compare them with their, with official signatures on voting registration if they didn't match perfectly, to challenge them. And I talked to another guy a couple of weeks ago, a really big man, I don't know his name, but he said that he had lost 20 pounds over a 5-day period because it was a heat wave in Nevada, and he was out on the street. It was 117-degree heat, getting signatures for this campaign. And, that's a level of devotion that I haven't seen in many, many years. I saw it on my uncle's campaign. I saw it on my father's campaign, to some extent on Bernie's campaign and on the Obama campaign. But, I sent Nicole a series of photographs that people were sending me. Every day, people send me photographs of them sitting at tables, wearing Kennedy merch at a mall somewhere or at a ball game. And they're these just wonderful, and then we're walking in a parade and signing up people in the parade. standing outside of a theater, and it's the most heartening, inspiring thing that I've ever seen in my lifetime, and it's so unexpected. And I feel like I have all these friends all over the country, many of whom I've never met, who've made these extraordinary sacrifices because they believe in my leadership, and that inspires me to be the best human being that I can be. And I want to tell you how much I respect and my gratitude towards all of you, my love towards all of you. I've had a lot of time to think about the meaning of the word family and what that means. And of course, it implicates a shared blood and shared DNA. But the thing that I think is the closest bond, the strongest bond that human beings have with each other is shared values. And to have all of these people who share the values of idealism, who share aspirations for unity, put aside the vilification, the demonization, the marginalization of each other, and to try to join in a crusade to reclaim the best values and the best ideals and aspirations for our country, for what this country is supposed to mean, a vision for what America is supposed to look like, to reclaim that from the people who have stolen it from us, and to find unity. And I've said many times during rallies, and when the king and queen look out over the balustrades of their castles and they see all of their subjects fighting each other, they go back to the banquet hall and they pop champagne corks because they know that nobody's coming over the wall for them. And what I've tried to do is to help unify Americans and have them put aside these minor disputes on the cultural war issues and unify them into an army that can storm the castle walls and go back and take back our country. And you have achieved the most difficult part of that, which is to give us the battlefield, to allow us to fight this. And now we've done something that we never. We didn't want to do. We developed an army of people of 100,000 strong, and in many states, every county, we have organizations, and every congressional district, and we're on the ground in every state because we had to be. And we're now going to try to get your help identifying our best voters and making the calls and getting people out of their homes to vote on election day. And I'm so grateful to all of you. We built an army, and we can fight this war, and we can take back our country. And during the Revolutionary War, there were moments, most of that war, there were moments when everybody gave up, except for a few people, the core of the people who were around George Washington. They lost hope after he lost battle after battle, and his men were freezing and they didn't have clothes. And yet they stuck together because they were inspired by an ideal about creating our country. And today we need to recreate that country. And we need to claim it. And it's wonderful having an army of people, of committed warriors who are out there and are willing to give so much for the love of the United States of America and for all the ideals that it represents. So I want to thank you all. I cannot express the level of gratitude that I have to all of you. And I'll see you all on the barricades. I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible over the next few months as we bring this to the end. And I don't know if Amaryllis already talked, but one of the things that Amaryllis talks a lot about is these polling numbers from when Ross Perot ran that show that Ross Perot ended up with 19% of the vote. When people came out of when the exit polls showed that he actually had gotten 36% of the vote, the voters wanted him as their first choice. And when those voters were interviewed outside the voting booth about why they had voted for somebody they didn't like, who was not their first choice, they all said it's because we thought that Ross Perot couldn't win, but we wanted him as president. And we don't want the same thing to happen in this election. We want people to not feel that they have to vote for somebody who's not their first choice. And I love this match app that we've developed that allows people to do that. So thank you. Thanks so much to all of you. And I'm sending you my love, my affection, my gratitude, and my hopes that we all meet one day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. We're incredibly grateful for you leading this fight and sacrificing so much on behalf of so many people all over the country. And it's been the honor of my life to see you interact with so many of these voters and children and animals on the campaign trail. So thank you for everything that you're doing for each and every one of us. I'd like to now turn it over to our amazing Del Bigtree, Director of Communications, who has built out our communication structure and tower incredibly and really leads us and it inspires us every day. Del, over to you.
First of all, Bobby, thanks for taking the time. I know you're flying out, getting up to Albany to deal with just more corruption from the DNC. I want to give a shout out to the hundreds of thousands of people that are watching right now on social media platforms across the country and across the world right now, and say you have the power to make a difference in the world right now. I remember looking back on my history classes, and when you'd hear these stories of George Washington, reaching down deep and going for that last battle that absolutely changed the course of America, Thomas Jefferson, and these great founding fathers that had these moments where they basically signed a Declaration of Independence and said to the most powerful military in the world, you know where to find us. Here's our names. Here's where we stand. We stand for freedom. We stand for liberty. You must know as you watch this that we are at a crisis point. It's why our platform is America Strong. Everyone in America right now feels that we're in a crisis. And for them, that crisis may seem like this looming potential nuclear war that is happening between Ukraine and Russia, a looming war in the Middle East like we haven't seen in decades, with Iran and Hezbollah and Palestine and Israel. And we're wondering, where is the leadership? And questions about China and Taiwan, all of these things. Also, terrible numbers now happening with our economy, real fear in jobs, people losing their homes because they can't pay for them. But that is not the crisis we're talking about. The crisis in America right now is our division. The fact that we are so divided that we can't face any of these issues. I don't know how many of you people have played sports, but have you ever been on a football team or a basketball team or any types of sports team? If you look across that field and the other team is all screaming and yelling at each other and blaming each other, has that team ever won? We are Team America, and we are about to lose our place in this world, our moral standing, and that is what America Strong is about right now. And if you are watching right now, if you have been watching Robert Kennedy Jr., not just giving you bumper sticker statements or promising you slogans that sound like everybody else, but answering deep questions with long historical facts in long podcasts, sharing his life, sharing his failures, sharing his successes, talking about all the legal wins, the amount of times he's won against the regulatory agencies that are so corrupt, fighting our corrupt government his entire life. If you've been watching all that and thinking, man, I want to make a difference, how about right now? Do you realize that the hundreds of thousands of you right now just said, you know what, right now I'm going to donate $10. $10 right now from every one of you watching, no matter where you're at, whatever you're doing, if you could take this moment to go to Kennedy24.com/donate and say, today I'm giving $10, we will have a record fundraise right now. We will be able to bring advertising to those networks that have absolutely tried to act like Robert Kennedy Jr. doesn't exist. Think about that hypocrisy. Think about that lie. We've had a candidate that's been polling between 10, 20%, which means he is absolutely going to affect this election, whether they like it or not, whether he wins or he will decide how this all goes. And the fact that not a single network, not NBC, CBS, ABC, none of them will even talk about him means that we don't live with news anymore. We have a propaganda machine that is telling people the world they want you to believe you live in. Like this stat, bring up that 51%. I want everyone to just look at this for a moment. When you look at, these are the stats of the Gallup poll showing that now 51% of Americans say that they are now independent. And yet we listen to the news, whether you're listening to Democratic news out of NBC, CBS, the liberal media, telling you there's no way an independent will ever win in America, or Fox News and Republican conservative news telling you there's no way that an independent will ever win. Look at those tiny little dogs telling you the Great Dane can't win. That is literally where we're at right now. 51% of America right now have Stockholm Syndrome. For some reason, they believe that they don't have the power to overcome their captors right now. This corrupt two-party system that owns our media, that is lying to everybody, that literally just selected the Democratic representative without a single vote by a citizen, and is now going to spend the entire week in Albany trying to take away the thousands and thousands of votes we got in New York to try and disenfranchise 1 million votes across this country. The party that says they care about the right to vote is trying to stop people from being able to vote for the independent party. We need you now. We are in a crisis. We can win this. If that 51%, all of you out there, stop listening to the news and saying you can't win, they are making you afraid. That's how slavery works. They make you believe the population in this country. It is time to shift this. Give 10. Strong. If you can give 20 or more, see this moment, the largest fundraising moment we've had. I can tell you this, I've been traveling with Robert Kennedy Jr. Heart, his empathy, and his vision for the future, he's real. I am so proud to be working with him. I'm so proud to call him my friend, and more than anything, it moves my heart that I have the opportunity to put a man in office that is going to end the corporate destruction of our country and save our country for our children and the future of this world. He's not just going to be the next president. I'm telling you, Robert Kennedy Jr. is the leader for the future. As long as we start telling our friends and our family members, stop having fear from those tiny little angry mobs at the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, join the party of hope. Join those that believe in their own independence. Fight now for this country. We need your funds. We need you out there volunteering because we can do this. Turn off your television sets, reach down deep in your heart and recognize how powerful you are. This vote is not about whether Robert Kennedy Jr. can win. Every poll shows head-to-head he beats Donald Trump. Head-to-head he beats Harris. And so what we know is that all of America wants to vote for him. Let's not have that Ross Perot moment. We need to do advertising now. People want to know what the strategy is. We've won the social media war. Help us win the television war. Just $10 today makes that happen. I want to thank all of you for taking the time today. I want to thank you for contributing. I want to thank all of our incredible volunteers, the largest volunteer army, the most passionate army of American citizens we've ever seen. Other people have said they would clean up this government. I'm telling you, the man that's been fighting this government in court his entire life, that stands for truth and justice for all. If you want a country for the people, by the people, help us get Robert Kennedy Jr. elected. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, Del, for fighting this fight and for leading this people-powered movement. every dollar truly counts and will be put to advertising, canvassing, supporting our volunteers, and really representing this majority that we see now in the independent voting pool. I'd like to now hand it over to Theo Wilson, who is a policy advisor on the campaign and is involved in policy and engagement, and has been a tremendous support during this journey. Theo, over to you.
Hey, how you doing, Bridge? Thank you so much for just having me on this call. The enthusiasm that I see on a daily basis is born from the conditions that bore this movement. And before I go any further, I gotta say that regardless of how this election turns out, if these needs are not addressed, this movement will rise again and again and again, because one thing that I learned is that it's not just for us. We are fighting for our children. We are fighting for our future, and we are fighting for the legacy that we've inherited as Americans who truly believe in these self-evident truths that we hold so dear. I am somebody who joined this movement because I knew what was coming down the pike in COVID. When they took my income, when they took my bodily sovereignty, when they decided that my wife had to put this foreign substance in her arm, the same party that said that she had choice over her womb, I knew that I had to stand my ground, and I found myself at the Capitol in the wildest summer of my life, 2020, and standing on those steps was this guy with a funny voice named Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But what he had to say was groundbreaking. What he had to say was life-changing. And I found myself on the high wire with Del Bigtree, just talking about how the issues that affect my community and the Black community and medical freedom are one in the same. They are not different. I am the grandson of a Tuskegee Airman. Theobald George Wilson of the 99th Pursuit Squadron was my grandfather. So I know what it means to have to stand up to the people whom we trust to get real justice done when they fail that justice for us. And before I know it, I'm sitting there in Hyannisport across from Robert Kennedy at the Kennedy establishment, looking around like, it's a pinch myself moment. And I didn't know how big this was gonna be. You know, a lot of people run for office. You never know what the consequences are gonna be. But what this has shown me is that they fear not only him, but us, because they understand that the big pharma, big corporations that have captured them are the very ones that are shaking us loose from their control, and they don't know what to do with it. People ask me all the time, what do you think his chances are? Do you think Bobby can win? Do you think this is possible? And I said, Bobby is making an end run around the mainstream establishment. Everybody that they lost in COVID still has a vote. And every single way that they try to tabulate and calculate how likely it is he will become the president is just historically inaccurate. We don't know what this is going to turn out like. And when I've been on this campaign, I feel like I'm like a character in this movie, in this season of America, like being right up here in the front lines with us making it happening, with us literally making history every single day, being blessed to write policy with this incredible team, and having agency over the future. We are creating the future that we want. And I said, I wouldn't be born into any other timeline. I wouldn't be born into any other obstacles, right? I wake up on this timeline in this Doctor Strange multiverse, and here I am in the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign, this very unlikely but very powerful and soon to be undeniable movement, and I get to be on the cutting edge of history just like y'all are. And to donate like a few bucks to that is a very, very small investment for a very, very big ripple effect. So I just want you guys to know that the conditions that bore this movement will keep us going regardless, because this has to be fixed. And this presidential campaign is one part of it. It's just one part of it. But there's so much more going on here. And the folks that I have met in this campaign have been just now dear friends of mine and fellow warriors. And I am blessed to fight this fight with y'all. I'm blessed to just be a part of this. And thank you very much for having me on this call. I hope to see y'all out there on the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Theo, for those beautiful words. Every time you speak, I just become speechless. And you summed it up so well, and I'm so grateful for you.
You too. Thank you.
So we'll now move into questions, but before we do that, Del, I know you're maybe having to leave in a second. Did you have any closing words for everybody?
I just want to say that, you know, I'll always love the Margaret Mead quote, you know, never doubt that a small group of passionate people can change the world, because indeed it's the only thing that ever has. They want to demoralize us. This is a corrupt government. It's corrupt all the way through. And it doesn't matter who wins, left or right. And we see the vitriol, we see the divide. We see, you know, Kamala Harris calling names, you're a criminal, I'm a prosecutor. Even, you know, President Trump, after an assassination attempt just days later, said, I'm tired of being nice. Do I have to be nice? We're brothers and sisters in this country. We have got to come together. We have got to come together and recognize that the threat is against this country. It's coming at us from all directions, whether it's technologies that could be out of control, wars that are out of control. We need a leader that's going to find that center ground. If we don't find the middle ground, this country is going to find itself on a battleground. This is the time, this is the moment. I just want you to think about, you know, when you look back at those history books, we are writing the pages for our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren. They're going to read about this generation. They're going to read about this moment where all of the social media seemed owned and corrupted, and all of the media seemed owned and corrupted, and everyone said that the independent voice could never win, and still somehow, like every page that's ever been written in history, it never said a time, you know, we outnumbered them 1,000 to 1, the battle lasted a day. No one ever writes about that. They write about those moments when people reach down, when all hope seems lost, and a small group of people rise up and change the world forever. That's what our founding fathers did. And we're being called by our bloodlines from Martin Luther King and on. And, you know, whether or not every race, every Native American warrior, every one of us has a warrior in our past, coursing through our blood that believed in freedom and fought for liberty. This is our time. Let's write that history book. Let's write that chapter now together. Stop listening to the lies, stop listening to brainwash, and start telling the truth to everyone you know. Watch how many people you talk to will say, I love Robert Kennedy Jr., I just don't think he can win. We're halfway there. All you have to do is not convince them that Robert Kennedy Jr. can win. Convince them that when they vote their conscience, when they believe in themselves, and they go into that voting booth and they do what's right, that they will be a part of changing the world. This isn't just about Robert Kennedy Jr. It's about every one of us that was born for a time such as this. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Del. And let's do this, you guys. Go to kennedy24.com/donate. Join our volunteer movement. Sign up to Table or Canvas, or join a grassroots event on Zoom or in person. And download the RFK Activate app. Any amount of time or donations really helps spread the word. And I'm so thankful to all of you spending your Sunday afternoon here. We have a few questions that we'd like to direct to some different folks on the call. The first question is for our campaign director, Amaryllis. Hello.
Hey.
Awesome.
Hopefully you guys can hear me. I've had a really unstable connection throughout this. It's frozen a few times, so I apologize. They're working on the wires outside today. But go ahead, Bridge. It's been incredible.
So Bobby mentioned some of the discrepancies in polling and why people might see one number and feel one way when the polling method wasn't super honest. So Eric Bodenstab had a question. Should we believe some of the major polls that have Bobby's ceiling at 10%?
That's a great question, Eric. And I my gut is that by asking it, you know the answer is no, and you're right. The methodological fraud that goes on in polling is truly astounding to watch. I mean, you would almost admire it if it weren't so insidious for our democracy. But when you look at the sequencing of questions, the appearance of a two-way horse race with the only other option being other. Once you tap other or click other, it expands. In the latest Emerson poll, you don't even have Kennedy there as an option. I've shared this one on X, but it lays out Chase Oliver and Jill Stein and Cornel West, but no Kennedy even after tapping other. When the reality is that we're far enough through the cycle now that we know that we are going to be on all 50 ballots. We have our certifications, and the options need to be laid out the way that they are on the ballot. And when that happens, we see our numbers double, and often more than that. In addition to which, there is an astounding meddling with the weighting of independents, Democrats, and Republicans compared to their representation in the population. Obviously, Bobby leads with independents, and it is one of the easiest ways to shift his numbers is to bring them down in the low 20s, the representation of independents in a poll. When we know, I mean, in the most recent Gallup poll, 51% of the country identifies as politically independent, the largest voting bloc in the country. In addition to which, each of these polling companies has their own kind of orthodoxies around how they judge likeliness to vote and how they weigh the opinions of each of the different demographics that they measure. And the narrative is that this is supposed to reflect people's propensity towards turning out to vote. But of course, we know that there's a vicious cycle that exists in this country, which is that the two major parties never bother to engage with vast swaths of the population, especially younger voters, voters of color, voters who make less than $100,000 a year, namely the voters who have been completely left out of the vast wealth generation that has gone to a smaller and smaller sliver of the population because it has been stolen from everybody else through money printing, through inflation, through spending money on wars overseas instead of investing hard-earned taxpayer dollars right here at home. And so because these groups that are most drawn to somebody who is speaking as a leader to their needs, to talking about bringing all of us together, recognizing that if you're spending a third of your working life away from your family, sacrificing your time with your children and in your home to be working for the government, that's almost a third of your time, and you're handing that taxpayer money to the government, that you should have a say in what is done with it, and that it should be invested in your community, in your schools, in your healthcare, in your opportunity to make a living. And when people raise their hand and say that, the two major parties want no part in that. And as a result, we see these different cohorts that are way vastly overrepresented in our coalition, underrepresented in the other two, and underrepresented in all of these polls. So I encourage everybody, if you want to geek out a little bit on it, to make sure that every time you see polling numbers, you actually go and open the crosstabs, get down to their methodological statement, look at the balance of independents, Democrats, and Republicans, look at the sequencing of the questions, and ask yourself, does this represent the choice that is actually going to be in front of voters in the same way that it will on election day? To Bobby's point, my connection froze right as he was talking, so I couldn't weigh in then. But to Bobby's point, after Ross Perot 3 decades ago, when frankly, things were a lot less divided and corrupt than they have become today, the self-fulfilling prophecy of polls became very evident, right? You have a plurality of voters, which is what you need to win the electoral votes of each state, saying, yeah, I would have voted for Ross Perot if I thought he could win. And to the establishment's ear, when they hear that, it's, oh, well, that's an easy way to make sure that that never happens again. Just make sure that the polling numbers prove to everybody that the one candidate who's actually going to work on behalf of the people doesn't seem like they could possibly win, and everybody's a follower, nobody's a leader. So as long as we put those numbers out, we get to keep them off the debate stage, and people think they're throwing their vote away, and they won't find out until they see the exit polls afterwards. Well, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It is on us to recognize that that is happening, and we do our own polling. We share it with you. We see a vast delta, even in our own polling, between the top line horse race and then those who answer the question, if my sole vote determined the outcome of this election, who would I choose, or who would you choose? If the choices were, we give the candidates names. And when we ask the question that way, we get upper 30s, sometimes low 40s, depending on which age group we're talking at. But across the board, plurality, who say that they would choose Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So if that is the case, if your sole vote, if that's what you want is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., then vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because you don't know how many of you there are. And we see it every day. And the truth is, if somebody tells you that, you know, your vote already belongs to them, you tell them to go stuff it, because this is a free nation. Each of us has our own vote to give to the person who is representing our needs and our family and our communities. And nobody can steal a vote from anybody else. You know, so if we have our supporters vote their hearts and learn from the lessons of Ross Perot, then we're going to see those upper 30s and low 40s numbers manifest at the polls.
Thank you so much, Amaryllis, and that's been the drive of a lot of these programs, the Kennedy Match program that you guys heard about, the Activate app, a lot of our different tabling and canvassing initiatives. It's a lot easier to vote out of hope rather than fear when you're not walking in solitude. So let's get together and take back our country. The next question I wanted to ask to Nicole, our vice presidential candidate. The question is, how do you plan to reunify the country after years of division?
Yeah, I think I've been thinking a lot about the sources of the division, and I truly believe in my heart that much really a scapegoat for corruption. And as we go about and focus on unraveling corporate capture, I think we're going to notice a lot more working to Republican Party or the Democratic Party for causing these issues. It's true, there has been corruption on the left and there's been corruption on the right. And they point fingers at each other because they don't want to actually open the doors to audit what their party has done and what they are actually responsible for. So part of unity is really an anti-corruption campaign. Because when things work, people don't smear and slur each other, especially when we're all on the same team. And I believe in absolute every possible function across federal government, and I think that it will influence state government management as well, especially in some of these swing states. I think even the blue states are going to see a lot less vitriol and fear of the other once we begin to identify what the real problem is. And the real problem is that we've created these mass money laundering schemes. Many of the projects that we have financed in many of these states, especially in the name of climate, have actually been money laundering schemes. So claiming that climate is the fault of Republicans, which is very divisive, that goes away. That goes away when we start actually working on our resources, our water management, our soil management, when we start to feed people highly nutritious food and watch the chronic disease rate go down. There's a lot less to point fingers about. And so that's how we reunite the country. We bring back integrity.
Absolutely. And Nicole, you set such a good example of integrity, and I think just mutual respect and recognition of our differences and the fact that we're all people. And like I mentioned earlier, this dialogue as part of our unity government is so important. The next question I wanted to ask our ballot access director, Nick Brana, if you're still on the line. This question's from Cheryl Fitzpatrick, and she asks, how many states will RFK Jr. be on the ballot by November? And does Ohio have Kennedy on the ballot? And when is the deadline for the remaining states to announce our ballot access?
So that's an easy one. We will be on the ballot on all 50 states plus the District of Columbia. The timeline from here that you're going to see is that now we're in that most intensive period for ballot access where we're submitting all the signatures that we've collected across all these months from all of you guys. All of the effort you put into it is now bearing fruit, and we are getting those certification letters from states rolling in, indicating that Bobby and Nicole are indeed officially on the ballot. So we have also an amazing threshold coming up of achieving 270 eligibility for 270 electoral votes in terms of certifications. When we cross that threshold, we will definitely let everybody know. So thank you to everyone who has made this possible out there, collected signatures, everybody on the team, of course, and a special shout out to Nicole for the contributions she's made to it as well.
Thank you so much, Nick. And that segues really well into our next question from Raymond Ward. And Raymond asks this to you, Will, and you, Trammell. What's the most important thing that volunteers can do now to help get Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Shanahan in the White House?
Oh man, that is such a great question. I would wake up at the start of every week with a goal. I would say this week I'm going to make 25 phone calls, or this week I'm going to knock 50 doors. And with that goal, if everyone on this call is making 25 phone calls, that's close to 100,000 a week. And so it's as previously stated, it's a ripple effect. And so I would just highly recommend that everyone just kind of sets that goal at the beginning of the week and tries new things and kind of steps out of their comfort zone to accomplish something that you haven't done before, because that's one of the most amazing things about our volunteer team. It's people that have told me, Will, I've never volunteered before. I've never felt this way about a candidate. And so we're kind of all in that boat, because this is a historic campaign. And so just try things that you haven't done before. Set a goal for the week on how many phone calls you're going to make, how many doors you're going to knock, if you're going to set up a tabling event or write an op-ed. And follow through, and you'll feel the change that you're making, and it's just you feel that accomplishment. And if everyone's doing it, it's a ripple effect and a snowball effect that is super powerful. So that'd be my advice. I guess also you could wear a Kennedy hat or a T-shirt every time you go to the grocery store or down to the bus stop and rep the campaign. That always leads to amazing conversations. And so there's really a lot of ways to do it, but set your weekly goal and then follow through on it.
And I would like to add, we have 93 days left, so we should try to be having these conversations in all the spaces that we can, with family, with friends. If you at the barbershop, you at the grocery store, no matter where you at the gym, let's try to have these Kennedy conversations. There's 41,700 zip codes in the United States. That means we need at least 41,700 people talking Kennedy all the time in these various zip codes, doubling, tripling, quadrupling those numbers, and just getting people involved. Right now, as it was said earlier in the Zoom, that we're being basically censored and not being allowed on all these different media stations. But one thing they can't stop is word of mouth. So we got to continue to have these Kennedy conversations, like Will said, wear the gear, you know, and just try to get involved whichever way you can. If you could donate 30 minutes a week or 30 hours a week, every second is very valuable. Remember, 93 days left after today. And if we want to see Kennedy in the White House, you know what we got to do. Get involved and be the change that we want to see.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trammell and Will, for leading our field efforts and ground game in every state from Alaska to Florida. We couldn't do this without you, and our volunteers are truly the backbone of this campaign. So if we have one more question before we wrap up, I know we've gone a little bit over time, but I want to welcome Jonathan Hiller, our Director of Content, who spoke earlier about a couple of different initiatives. This question is from Eric Tiberis, and he asks, as we've seen during your campaign, left-wing media refuses to give you proper coverage. Anytime they did cover you or Bobby, he's talking about Bobby, it wasn't really fair. What can we do to fight against censorship in America so this doesn't happen to continue to future candidates?
Whew, that's a heavy question, but a very good one. So there's a couple things I'll say, you know, that we do, and then there are many, many things that you can do. First of all, from a digital platform specific perspective. So we engage supporters and we put out our information on multiple social media platforms. So we diversify the ways in which we communicate our messages. So for instance, if Meta is censoring us, we can bring attention to that on X and vice versa, and many other, you know, different ways that we can sort of use the different platforms to point out a platform's censorship. So that's one thing we do, which has gone really well. I will say X has been amazing in terms of its commitment to free speech. And a lot of our information is getting out there. You all are sharing it, which has been really wonderful. Another way that we do it is we diversify through making sure that we identify and book Mr. Kennedy on independent media. This is a big, big deal. He said, you know, I think the next president is going to be the first podcast president. So that has been incredible for us. A lot of you have seen him on Joe Rogan. Admittedly, that was one of the first interviews I saw, and I was like, oh, wow. So that he gets booked on these independent media platforms, these independent podcasters, journalists that allow us to get his message to people. And then also, you know, just from a legal perspective, you know, we can challenge censorship in court, and we have partners in our sort of legal advocacy groups that help us with that. So that's sort of on the campaign side. And then the biggest thing is what Trammell said was, you know, they can throttle, shadow ban. You know, the main thing I would say is if you find something that stirs you, if something really stirs your soul or your heart, text a video link to somebody. That is, they can't censor that. That is one of the most beautiful ways that you can communicate to someone that not only do you think, hey, this is a really interesting message, but also that you're a Kennedy supporter. That is one of the main things is sort of a psychic threshold of supporting someone who is telling the truth in a time of deceit, I think is the George Orwell quote, is revolutionary. And what we are doing here is revolutionary. We are ensconced in a culture of deceit. And there is one person running for president who is telling the truth, and that is revolutionary. So you are a revolutionary if you also tell the truth. So I would say if you have the time, if you're stirred, if you can send this to somebody, send a message, send a podcast, say, oh my gosh, you know, maybe start with a 2-minute video like, wow, this is really interesting. And then maybe send a 45-minute video of a podcast that he was on. There's a great way. I think there's just so much information. You know, we have the most dynamic human being. My job is easy. We just put him on camera, cut it up and put it out there. I mean, we really don't do much other than that because he is incredibly dynamic, he speaks so beautifully, so affluently. He has a breadth of knowledge that I've never seen before in a political candidate. So it's actually quite easy for us to make the stuff, the content, and put it out. And I would say it is through your hard work, through the texting, through the emailing, through in-person events, volunteers coming to rallies. That is where it's going to happen. And I'll just say this too. You know, I was on the road with the Democrats for about 7 months during the 2016 cycle, and one data point, and I think of sort of all of this as all of these different things as data points. One data point that was really beautiful to me to observe was I have never seen the kind of enthusiasm that I've seen when I see Bobby on the road, and I you know, my job is to observe, record, and create these little spots for us. But one thing I have to do is key into the people that are, what are their reactions to hearing him speak? Like, what do they feel in their heart and soul? And I see it in their eyes. And I see the emotion, I see the hope. This is to me a unity election, and we will unite the country if we hope enough. We have to have that hope in order for us to unite the country. And I see it in all of your faces when I'm at these events. And that is a strong, strong data point. And I'll say, you know, mainstream media is always going to be difficult. I mean, if you follow the money, the pharmaceutical companies make billions of dollars advertising on mainstream news. And Bobby has committed to ending advertising from the pharmaceutical complex on mainstream news. So yeah, they have no incentive to have him on those platforms. But again, this is going to be, this has been and will be a people-powered movement. It is up to all of us. It is up to you. It is up to me. It is up to this entire team to mobilize and make sure that people hear his message. Because when they hear it, they get it. And that we're doing the best that we can. We're asking you all to do the best that you can. You are. And we're gonna do this together.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And yeah, to echo that, I think the best way to fight censorship is just by having more and more of these interactions. On our app, you'll find tons of videos in our materials section of Bobby, of Nicole, of our volunteers hosting lemonade stands and sending those around to your networks. That, you know, really sparks a ripple effect and puts Kennedy Shanahan in their minds, and then they can speak about the campaign is really crucial. I want to invite Amaryllis Kennedy, our campaign director, back up to close us out, and really just thank you all so much again for spending the day with us. And I hope this has left you feeling inspired and excited to vote for Bobby this November.
Thanks, Bridge. You know, closing here, one of the questions that I see, you know, that we didn't have time to get to formally, but I'll just touch on because it moved me, is about what hope Bobby brings for our children and for our grandchildren. And that question really struck me because, first of all, I see it in the polling. We have extraordinarily disproportionate support among parents who have kids under the age of 17 and among voters who are themselves under the age of 40. So I think that the concern over our future is a huge part of what drives so many of you, so many of us. It certainly was with me. I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 15-year-old while running this campaign. And, you know, I wish I could put bricks on their heads because they're growing up while I'm working 20 hours a day. But it is for them. And I know that's why all of you take time away from your families or out there with your families fighting. And for me, it was looking at them and wondering whether, you know, when they graduate high school, are they going to live in a country where if they say the wrong thing on social media, you know, their bank account gets frozen or their passport gets confiscated? And that would have sounded preposterous to me a few decades ago, at least in this country. And it doesn't anymore. And to me, you know, when I was a kid, my parents took us to Civil War battlefields on the weekends a lot. And my brother and I loved that in the gift stores, they had these long envelopes, and you would take out the documents and they were on the old parchment paper, and seemed like, you know, the original Declaration of Independence, the original Constitution, the Gettysburg Address. And we loved these things. My brother and I would sit in the rear facing seats of our Volvo station wagon and, you know, exchange them. And life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, to me as a kid, the idea that pursuit of happiness was a founding ideal for our country, the audaciousness of that has inspired me my entire life. And yet today, all three of those things, so central. I mean, life, our actual years, sacred years on this planet, are increasingly under threat. We're increasingly sick and we get fewer of them. You know, in 1970, if you lived in this country, your life expectancy was on par with other developed countries. And we only spent 7% of our GDP on health. Now it's 18%. But if you're born in this country, on average, you die 5 years earlier than living in any other developed country on earth. And that's 5 years with your grandkids and your family waking up and seeing the sunrise. And so how can we have been guaranteed life as an inalienable right and be losing it by the day and month and year because of health being so devalued by our leaders for these past decades? And then liberty, I think we've all seen our constitutional liberties continue to be eroded. People across the entire political spectrum, through all the Gallup polling, agree that we are getting less free, not more free in this country, regardless of their political affiliation. And that means that we are leaving our children and our grandchildren a lesser world, a lesser country, a lesser life than we were given. And that is not our job here. Our job is to be good ancestors and leave things better than we found them. And then that best of all of the inalienable rights, the pursuit of happiness, you know, originally it was actually going to be economic well-being, and it was replaced. The pursuit of happiness was added because it was even more expansive. But to go and pursue whatever happiness is for you, whatever your God-given purpose is here, there are basic needs, you know, the need for shelter and for you, to this community and to your family and society. And we are losing that. You know, people cannot get into houses. The rates are up. Mortgages have doubled in the last 4 years, which means if you have a locked rate, you are not moving, which means if you don't already have a house, you're not getting a house because no new houses are being built. We have supply chain issues and all kinds of regulatory red tape, and have put all of the liquid natural gas that we have that's available to contribute to those things on tankers and sent it to Europe to fill an energy vacuum there because we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. These are a sequence of very intentional decisions by leaders that have cost our future generation that opportunity to pursue their happiness, pursue their purpose. And we, as the people of this country, can make our own intentional decision to get this country back on course. And all of the turbulence that we've experienced this summer is a lot to deal with, but it has happened before. And one of the years in which it happened before was 1968. And there are an extraordinary number of parallels with that year this year. The convention being in Chicago is a really interesting recognition of that rhyming history. But when you look at an incumbent president deciding not to run again, political violence that in 68 resulted in 2 assassinations this year. Thank God the assassination attempt itself was not successful, but a great American father and family man did lose his life at a political event, and all kinds of other political divisions are rife in our society. These kinds of parallels, I think, suggest to us that what was the doorway to one era, the end of the hope and moonshots and optimism of President Kennedy's era, and then entering into an era of lost trust in government, of Vietnam, of Watergate, right through Iran-Contra, up to the forever wars and the world that we find ourselves in today. That was one season. And here we are in a rhyming year, so similar to 1968 in so many ways. And I think, again, we are on the doorstep of a new season, a new era, and it's up to us to choose what that era is going to be. Are we going to step back into hope and unity and moonshots that we know we are capable of as a country and leave that to our children and grandchildren? Or are we going to believe the fear narratives and the division that's out there and throw up our arms and say, well, I guess I've just got to do what I'm told and vote for one of the two options that are both doing the exact same thing to myself? I choose hope. And I know that each of you do too, because you're here. And I could not be more honored to serve at your side in this fight. And I feel that passion out there. Everybody is ready to step into this next moment. And I couldn't be more excited to do it with all of you. So thank you for being here. I hope you're as amazed by our team as I am every day. They are here fighting for this country and for all of us, and for those kids and grandkids. So thank you all for being here. I'll see you out on the campaign trail. Let's go take our country back.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to leave a couple of slides up as we exit, but thank you for fighting this fight, and it's my honor to serve alongside each and every one of you. Always feel free to reach out to me, Bridget@teamkennedy.com, if you ever want to chat or have any questions or want to get more involved. I'm here for you guys, and thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Woohoo. Bye. Thank you.